The anhinga moves along the branches of trees rather awkwardly, but it still walks there, with the aid of its wings which it extends for that purpose. On the land, it walks and even runs with considerable ease, certainly with more expertise than the cormorant, though much in the same style. The flight of the anhinga is swift, and at times well sustained, but like the cormorants, it has the habit of spreading its wings and tail before it leaves its perch or the surface of the water. They can rise to vast heights. When much lower, seem to remain suspended in the same spot for several seconds. While flying, their wings are directly extended, and their neck stretched to its full length, with her tail more or less spread according to the movements to be performed. If disturbed or alarmed, they fly with continuous beats of their wings, and proceed with great velocity. Perched, they exactly resemble the Florida cormorant. The nest of the snakebird is variously placed in different localities, sometimes in low bushes that are not more than 8 or 10 feet above the water. The nest measures 2 feet in diameter, and was of a flattened form, much resembling that of the Florida cormorant. The nests have 2 to 4 eggs. However, correct in saying that this species will occupy the same tree for a series of years, repairing it every spring, as herons will not do. Anhingas from birth are fed by regurgitation. Young anhingas, when approached, while in the nest, will cling tenaciously to it until seized, and if thrown down, they merely float on the water and are easily captured. When they are 3 weeks old, the quills and tail feathers grow rapidly. Like all carnivorous birds, the anhinga can remain days and nights without food. Cormorants have long, thin necks with a throat pouch. Males and females are similar in appearance. They have a straight bill that is hooked at the tip and no external nostrils when full grown. During the breeding season, adults develop a double crest of 2 tufts, generally white, curving back from behind their eyes. While wading, the cormorant has such a low profile, it may look like a periscope sticking out of the water. They are usually silent, except for pig-like grunting calls in the nesting colony. They reach a length of 29 to 36 inches, with a wing spread of 54 inches. Usually, they weigh around 4 pounds, but can to grow over 6. Cormorants lack waterproofing oils. After fishing, the cormorant must hold its wings open in the sun and breeze to dry. Cormorants are often seen perched with their wings spread out. The flight of this species is perhaps more rapid than that of others, and is performed by continued flappings when the bird is traveling. The cormorant inhabits Florida and its surrounding area. The diet consists mostly of fish, but can include frogs, tadpoles, and insect larvae. It generally pursues its food by swimming underwater, in which the posterior placement of its legs and feet make excellent propellers. They dive and swim around in pursuit of their prey, generally to depths of 5 to 25 feet below the water's surface. They usually stay under less than 30 seconds, but can stay submerged up to 70 seconds. They breed on inland lakes where fish are abundant. They require trees for nesting. Cormorants build large, shallow nests. The male and female both participate, and it takes an average of 4 days to build a nest. Nests are constructed out of twigs, roots, weeds, vines, and plant debris are used. The male builds the foundation, and he will bring material in for the female to continue building. The male will add material to the nest throughout the season. Old nests are often rebuilt, and the same nest may be used for at least 4 years. When they are built in trees, the female will lay 2 to 7 chalky blue eggs between April and July, and both parents will take turns incubating them for 24 to 25 days. The young are fed regurgitated food by reaching into the parent's gullet or by picking up discarded food. When they are 3 to 4 weeks of age, the young wander from the nest, gather in bands, and move through the entire colony to socialize. Cormorants breed in colonies ranging from fewer than a dozen nests to several hundred or more. They frequently nest with other colonizing nesting species. Nearly all alligators become sexually mature by the time they reach approximately 7 feet in length, although females can reach maturity at 6 feet. A female may require 10 to 15 years and a male 8 to 12 years to reach that length. The courtship rituals of the alligator are quite complex, involving touching, rubbing, the blowing of bubbles, and some vocalizations. The actual mating takes place in open water. Alligators are not monogamous. One male may service up to 10 or more females in his territory. Male alligators are territorial animals during the breeding season and will defend their area against other male intruders. Courtship begins in early April and mating occurs in May and June. After mating, the female alligator moves into the marshy areas and shoreline where she will begin to construct a nest. They'll eat tadpoles, minnows, frogs, whatever he can grab.
Okay, buddy.
She'll stay with them up to 2 years to protect them from other predators. She still won't raise but about 2% of what hatches. And if anything happens to her, none of them will make it. Other alligators, snakes, herons, egrets, raccoons, otters all like to eat little baby gators. And even though she's a good protector, food source goes bad, she comes first. She'll eat them herself. That doesn't necessarily happen here. That happens more in the Everglades where the water holes dry up, fish die. She's got no choice but to survive. Now, if you want to guess how long she was, look at the tip of her nose. Guess the number of inches back to the middle of her eyes and change that to feet, and I guarantee you within 6 inches, that's how long she is.
What's that, about 8?
She's about 9 foot.
9 foot.
Females rarely reach above 8 foot. She's quite large for a female. Using her back feet, the female will scratch together a mound of sticks, mud, and vegetation. Into this mound she will deposit her eggs, and it is the breakdown of this nesting material that helps keep the eggs warm. Female alligators begin to lay their eggs in late June and early July. Alligators tend to lay about 20 to 60 eggs on the average. However, the rate of fertility varies with the age of the female. The incubation period of the eggs is 65 days. During this time, the female alligator guards her nest against intruders. Raccoons, for example, are notorious nest raiders and have been known to completely destroy a nest. The eggs begin to hatch in August through September. Young alligators are known as hatchlings. The young use an egg tooth to help open the egg. They then make high-pitched grunting noises to alert the mother gator. The female alligator will then chew open the nest, and the 6-inch young will escape to the water. And some females have been known to carry their young to the water. The young eat insects, worms, and small fish. They stay with their mother for 18 months. The hatchling alligators form groups called pods and may stay in the same vicinity of their nesting site for several years. Until the next breeding season begins, the female alligator will remain near her brood, defending them against predators. The first few years of a hatchling's life are the most dangerous, as anything can eat a small alligator will. Snakes, wading birds, osprey, raccoons, otters, largemouth bass, garfish, even larger alligators will feed upon the young alligator. Once the alligator reaches about 4 feet, its only real predator is man. Alligators are now protected by both state and federal regulations. It is illegal to hunt or trap a wild alligator without a permit. In the state of Florida, it is illegal to feed a wild alligator, as doing so tends to make the animal associate humans with food, and it loses its natural fear of man. The alligator is listed by the state of Florida as a species of special concern. Alligators can be legally taken only by individuals with proper license and permits. The American alligator, although protected by both state and federal laws, has become a viable resource in today's aquaculture. The alligator is prized for its hide and meat. The hide of the alligator is considered a fine and durable leather, used for boots, wallets, purses, shoes, briefcases, and other leather items. The meat of the alligator is considered a gourmet delicacy. It's low in fat and high in protein. Not just the tail, but all of the meat of the alligator is edible and is sold in restaurants all throughout Florida. Records show the alligator was first used commercially during the late 1800s in Florida. During the early to mid-1900s, the harvesting of alligators was unregulated, leading to the depletion of the alligator's populations. In 1943, concerns over the alligator's population decline led to the establishment of a 4-foot minimum size limit. Despite this regulation, the decline continued, and in 1954 a statewide 6-foot minimum size limit was imposed. However, this regulation also did little to stop the alligator's demise, and in 1962 the legal harvesting of alligators was closed. During the 1960s, the alligator's population continued to diminish. Poaching of the alligator was widespread, and because of a loophole in state laws, authorities were unable to shut down the interstate network of illegal hide dealers. Finally, in 1967, the American alligator was placed on the first endangered species list. In 1970, federal regulations were imposed that effectively ended the illegal alligator market, and the populations of alligators began to rebound. It has been speculated that perhaps the alligator's population was never as bad as originally thought, but that the alligator had just become more adept at eluding humans. Alligators feed most often when temperatures are between 73 to 90 degrees. If the prey is small, it may be swallowed whole. Otherwise, the gator will bite down on it repeatedly, using a combination of sharp teeth and tremendously strong jaw muscles. It breaks bones or shells so the whole item can be swallowed. Large prey may be also shaken vigorously and slapped against the water or shore to rip off swallowing-sized pieces. Alligators roll underwater with very large prey, submerging the victim and drowning it. The dead prey is dragged around or guarded for several days until the meat rots enough to be ripped apart. Alligators are cold-blooded, which means that their body temperatures fluctuate in response to the temperature of their surroundings. An advantage of being cold-blooded is that little energy needs to be spent in maintaining a high body temperature, and therefore less food is needed. A healthy alligator can go many months without food. Alligators can survive in water temperatures as cold as 36 degrees and as warm as 98 degrees. Bittern. Although the least bittern is not considered a strong flyer, it does migrate to water. Migration usually occurs at night. The shy least bittern often slips away by walking, climbing, or even running through the reeds. When wading in shallow water or walking on land, movements are quick and graceful. Its head shoots forward with each step. To avoid detection, a least bittern will often hold a cryptic, reed-like pose where it stands motionless with its bill pointed straight up. The least bittern has buffy underparts, a white throat with yellow-brown on the sides of the neck, and a slightly crested head, a slender dull yellow bill, and yellow eyes. The crown and back are black in males and brown in females. The most obvious characteristic for identifying the least bittern is its wing patches. The least bittern usually breeds in freshwater marshes. Starting in early June, the nest, which is constructed by both adults out of dead and live stems, is a platform with a shallow hollow. It is placed about a foot above the water. The 4 to 5 eggs are smooth, dull, and pale blue to pale green. They are usually laid at daily intervals and incubated by both sexes, beginning with the second egg. The young are tended by both adults and leave the nest 5 to 14 days after hatching. The least bittern is a solitary to a mild colonial nester. The adults approach the nest on foot rather than by flying. This secretive bird has been adversely affected by the draining and filling of wetlands. It is the smallest of the heron family and the least photographed.
You see him, Pigs?
Yeah.
You say hi, Heron.
Hi, Heron. Hi, Heron.
Say hi, least bittern.
Hi, Heron.
They are tiny little things.
The truly elegant great American egret is a constant resident in Florida. It has a wingspan length that can be over 50 inches. Sexes are similar.